Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be going through some elbow rotational isometrics. So we're really on this drill trying to first and foremost become more aware of the muscles and the rotational tissue of the elbow. So when we think of supination muscles, we're thinking of muscles that are more on this inside, the insert on the inside part of our elbow joint here or of our upper arm bone. And then which is supination, which would be turning the palms up. So we're going to feel bicep and things like that into here. Then when we rotate down into pronation, we're going to have this more on the outside of the elbow. That's where the muscles of the pronator, major pronator muscle inserts, and we're really going to be feeling that when we go into pronation. So I really like, before we even start isometrics, just to get the feel for what it even feels like and what your true range of motion is at elbow rotation. So really just trying to establish that first. So we can start in a neutral position with thumb up. What we want to avoid is our shoulder getting involved or our wrist getting involved and trying to chime in. So everything, the axis of motion is at the elbow and only at the elbow. Everything else stays quiet. So less is more early on. If you're not used to this, feeling those muscles working in isolation, go with less range of motion, go with less tension. That will give you a better foundation over time to then be able to build off, because you're actually truly training the elbow tissue we want to train versus like also elbow shoulder or elbow wrist. So with that aside, we're going to start with just some rotations, supination and pronation. As we go through that, hold for 2, 3, maybe even 5 seconds at the end of each range of motion to really be able to spend enough time to say, yes, I'm feeling the supinator muscles when I rotate into supination. And then when we rotate into pronation, same thing, spend a few seconds there, even pretend like you can go further, even if you can't, just to be able to feel those muscles of the pronators and supinators when you get to those end ranges. So we just go back and forth, establish, we can kind of find, where is our angle? Where do I stop rotating at the elbow and start to recruit other things to get involved? Those are our angles that we're going to do our isometrics in with our elbow. So we'll start with position 1 of 3. Position 1 is just going to be neutral. So we've warmed up with some rotations there, maybe 5, 6 each direction, 2, 3 seconds per hold on each position. Then we'll need a stick, and we'll have our elbow in neutral position, 90 degrees, thumb is to the sky. So we're not in any pronation or supination yet, just neutral. Then what we're going to do from here, guys, is grab a grip and really plant that stick into the ground. You can even hold it with your other hand to give you some extra resistance. What we're going to do from here is, with this grip, we want to make sure your thumb is not wrapped around here so that we can get more at the elbow. So thumb is wrapped by the other 4 fingers. Now what we're going to do to start is lock this position in. Nothing's going to move. You're just feeling the muscles contract in this isometric. So we're going to start with a little bit of supination. So what you're going to attempt to do is you're attempting to rotate the stick this direction into supination. It's stuck to the ground, your hand is there, so it's not actually going to move, right? And so as you attempt to rotate into supination, one sneaky piece to think about is making sure your grip stays the same throughout. We, again, don't want our fingers, our wrists to get involved, right? So the grip stays the same throughout. And it's a very just light, trying to feel those supinator muscles on that inside bicep, inside part of the elbow, attempting to rotate your palm to the sky. We start at just like a 10% effort. We feel those muscles working, nothing is compensating. Then we work up to 20%. Then we work up to 30%. 30% is a great place to stop and just hold steady then for a longer period of time. If you've just started these, over time, we can go with a little more intensity, 40, 50, 60, really work up to your safest, greatest effort with less time into there. So we're holding this 30% effort, 45 seconds, maybe a minute, kind of see how that feels. After that time, it should feel like more things are waking up, like you're starting to become more and more familiar with, oh, that's my elbow rotational muscles that I haven't felt to this extent before, because we're just actually spending time training that tissue. We can relax there. So there's our attempted supination in neutral grip. Now we go the same thing, attempted pronation. So now we're going to feel more on that outside part, attempting to try to rotate our palm down. Again, the stick is glued, so it's not actually going to move. You can hold your other hand here to block that as well. But you're just, without changing the grip, without moving the shoulder or the wrist, you're just trying to get some of that rotation of that elbow and forearm, and just feeling those muscles working. Again, the longer you hold this, which is why we go longer holds with less intensity to start, so that we can just become more and more familiar with those tissues. Relax from there. So there's 2 isometrics in neutral. Then what we do is we can just go into a supinated grip. So we rotate our elbow to supination, where our palm is up to the sky, whether that's all the way palm to the sky, wherever you can go, where it's just isolated at your elbow. Then you'll hold the stick with both hands, one hand on the working elbow, the other hand is just going to be blocking it. And now it's the same thing here, guys. We're going to attempt to rotate to supination first. So we try to rotate the stick more this way. My hand is going to block that from happening there. You may not actually be able to rotate more. That's the whole idea. So you're at closer to an end range. So if this feels weaker, that's totally okay. But we're attempting to try to break through. This hand is blocking that to give it a little bit of resistance. You're working up 10, 20, 30% effort, making sure you're not going over the cliff and into pain or pinching, but you're just staying like low level pain if there is any. Then contraction 2 is going to be attempting to rotate it back this way. The hand's going to have to move to the other side of the stick on the non-working hand to ensure that that is staying steady and we're getting that isometric contraction. And same thing, work up 10, 20, 30%. You'll feel those pronator muscles now, which may be a little bit harder to feel since we're kind of almost getting them into a little bit of a stretched position with this new angle. Excellent. And then we'll relax from there. There's position 2. Then position 3, guys. Again, we can lose the stick just to establish the range and establish the angle we're going to be working at. Then the hand is going to hold on to the stick there. Contraction 1 is now going to be, again, we're just going to try to rotate to supination more. So let's try to rotate to supination more. Here's where you'll feel that more inside part of the elbow, the bicep working to attempt to contract. Hand, fingers don't lose the grip. Everything stays consistent and stable, and the rotation, the contraction is coming from the elbow. Then contraction 2 is you're trying to rotate it down more into that more pronation. So again, here's where you get into that outside part of the elbow, be up into the top side of the forearm a little bit further. We'll continue to rotate into there. Again, 10, 20, 30%. It's all about the same here with the longer holds over time, shorter holds, higher intensity there. We can relax from there. The other piece we can sneak into this here, guys, is working our grip, right? So we can think of our squeeze, get some tension, just like our gripping isometrics, keep the fingers steady there, and then allow that tension to irradiate up into the elbow as you then attempt to get that rotational contraction through the tissue.